So welcome back to DecoyNoise and a very special episode of Am I the Antagonist? And am I the antagonist for taking back the beer I bought for a party from which I was uninvited from? So as always, we read the story, then we rush it over to Decoy Court where I give you my knee-jerk reaction. I'll read over some of the top comments and the controversial comments, then I'll read your comments down below. We'll do that Decoy Deliberation and figure out who the true antagonist is and what a theoretical punishment for said antagonist should be. So let's go ahead and read the story right now. So OP wrote, "This happened just a few hours ago. I am a 19-year-old man, and the people calling me the antagonist are 18-year-old men and women. On Thursday, a person I had a major crush on in high school, but who rejected me, messaged me out of the blue. She had never contacted me without me contacting her first, and at one point I realized she had just blocked me on social media, and so I found it odd that she suddenly was being friendly. After sending a couple of greetings and questions about how I've been, she said that she was going to have some people over and wanted to know if I would get the beer. The drinking age where we are is 19, and she and all the people who were going were all 18. The liquor store in my area, all card. I thought it was silly that my being a month older meant I could buy liquor and they couldn't, and so I said I would love to go, and she said, "Thanks, I'll pick you up at 7. 7 o'clock rolled around, and she texted me to say she was in front of my house. I went out and dressed and ready to chill with some people, and she drove me to the liquor store. When we got there, I asked what beer she wanted me to get, and she told me to get Budweiser. I hid my disappointment as well as I could, but it was her party, so I went in and bought the 2 cases of 24 packs, whatever. So I got back to the car and said, 'Let's party,' and she was eerily quiet. I noticed she wasn't driving towards her neighborhood, but rather back towards mine. I thought she had moved or something, but didn't want to press the issue. When she turned down my street, I finally figured it out. She was being purposely vague about the invitation because she wanted me to get the beer, but she wanted to weigh out when she told me I wasn't actually invited in the first place. She stopped in front of my house, leaned over, kissed me on the cheek, and said, 'Thanks,' in her best voice. I deadpanned her and asked when she was going to tell me I wasn't invited. She feigned surprise and she said that she never intended to invite me in the first place. I sat in silence for a long, awkward minute, picked up the beer, and walked towards my front door. She got out of the car and frantically tried to re-invite me to the party, but I told her that what she did was the most humiliating thing that had ever happened to me. I opened my front door, slammed it a bit too hard, and came back to my room. Now I'm sitting here drinking absolutely unpalatable beer." And I have to text messages all from her friends and her asking why I'm being such a jerk. I don't think that I'm the antagonist for reacting the way I did, but if you haven't figured it out, I'm not amazingly social, so I'm not sure. Am I here? So as always, got to take the case, rush it over to Decoy Court where I give you my knee-jerk reaction, and I'll just go ahead and say, yeah, like, this is a pretty messed up situation, you know? Like, the girl knew that OP was super interested and just immediately took advantage of that. Like, you know, the girl legitimately thought that she could use OP as means to an end to get free beer in exchange for flirting and a kiss on the cheek, and sad to say, in this day and age, like, I've personally seen men let themselves be used like that. Heck, there's even, like, entire online industries right now that are built on the idea that girls can exchange attention and words for actual cash. So but no, you know, OP said his level of dignity is somewhere above that line, so he stood up for himself and said, "No, my time and money is worth more than a kiss on the cheek and flirting." So, you know, I guess we kind of have to employ the decoy defense right here. And maybe she was just trying to teach OP a life lesson on buying people beer that shouldn't have beer. I don't know. It all seems pretty clean cut that she's a bad person in OP's story, but not to say that she's a... I guess the decoy defense is she's not the bad person in general, because, you know, we have the decoy defense is all the idea of all these pretty online streamers, whether it be gaming or painting on themselves or selling their bathwater. You know, they're actually providing a service that's, like, you know, in high demand, you know, and who are we to judge the people that will willingly part with their money in exchange for interaction with a pretty girl, you know? I mean, over here I make fun of the bathwater situation with, then her name escapes me right now, but you know, at some level, I'm just jealous that I can't make that kind of money just doing something simple like that, you know? I remember having Vince on the podcast, and he'd be like, "Oh, yeah, but where's your dignity if you did that?" And I would say, my dignity would be at the Tesla dealership. Like, making money like that is just, it's too hard to pass up. And the idea is, like, you know, I'm all about freedom, so if they're both comfortable with partaking in that kind of economy, why not? But good on OP for knowing that, like, okay, I'm going to draw the line, and this is not what I want my life to be about, so he went ahead and stood up for himself. It hurt him. It hurt him deep down to the core. You could tell it did. But, you know, he's going to be the better person for it, you know, because it reminds me of a story that's something that I experienced in, like, my early 20s where, you know, I met a friend through work. She introduced me to the rest of her friends, and we became this kind of, like, this big party crew, and it was a really good time. But later on, I moved away. We kind of moved apart, and just, you know, life goes on. So After a while, one of the pretty girls from the group hits me up on social media and we're chatting, we're talking, and it just seems something amiss. Like, it's like, why are you hitting me up out of nowhere? Like, nothing, no time has passed at all. So I was obviously skeptical. And then she asked me a favor about, you know, getting her something super expensive, maybe like 5 minutes in the conversation. And the idea is, like, I knew that I wasn't going to do that. So I just said, oh, 100%, I'm not interested in helping you with that right now. And then she was gone as quick as she came back. And the idea is, it's a very valuable life lesson to see this very clear attempt of taking advantage of, like, you know, taking advantage of me or taking advantage of OP, you know, where someone's accustomed to being able to trade their attention for what's your perceived worth. And it's a good lesson to have, you know, especially early on, like my case, early 20s, OP's case, like 19 years old, where especially if you had a really good upbringing and plenty of good, genuine people around you, it's hard to fathom that there's people that are just gonna nonchalantly try to take advantage of you, you know? Like, you know, I'm honestly a better person after seeing it play out in my face like that, and so is OP. And so I guess we just kind of have to judge OP in this situation, only OP, and say, you're not the antagonist, you know? The only people that are calling OP the antagonist are the people that could gain something from OP being so naive, you know? Had this been successful, it would have taught OP the wrong lesson about attention. The idea like, oh, girls will finally give me the time of day when I can buy them stuff. And then, you know, the girl would learn, oh yeah, guys with crushes on me are easily exploited. And then the girl's friends would just learn to exploit their friends' good looks and, you know, her charm for their own gain as well. So I think it's probably good on everybody for him not giving into that. Everybody's learning the wrong lesson, but maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I tried to give the decoy defense as best I could. So if nothing, take a short break, let me know your thoughts, earn yourself the Decoy coin by giving me good comments and feedback, but also make sure you're subscribed down below. I'm doing all my little plugs and promos right now, but subscribe with the notifications on because we're doing a lot of different stuff right now, and I want to make sure you guys are able to see all the new videos that come out when they do come out, because it's going to be kind of sporadic as I kind of learn what to do right now. But take a short break, let me know your feedback right now, and then we'll go ahead and get to those top comments, because hopefully it'll give us more perspective as to, you know, what other people are saying about the situation. So the top comment was, not the antagonist, blatantly. How did she expect this to go? You'd happily go buy her beer, then take it to the party, and then leave without partying or drinking the beer? They have to be all a bit cracked in the head if they believe that that was ever going to work. I take a Snapchat of me pouring that down a toilet before I ever gave it to him. I'm so sorry this happened to you. I hope you can move past what a nasty piece of work this girl, not woman, is. And here's the thing is, there's a lot of people that let themselves get taken advantage of, where, like, you know, if he was a socially inept kid that just never got pretty girls' attention, where he was hitting her up so much where she had to block him across all social medias, maybe they just thought, hey, we can take advantage of this person, and this is just kind of commonplace for them, where they'll get away with that sort of thing. So if you find it hard to believe that people can be this cruel, you haven't been paying attention right now, because people are much worse than this. But let's go ahead and read the next top. Well, actually, OP came back and said, you know, the whole idea, oh, they take a Snapchat of me pouring that down the toilet before I ever gave it to him. That's the pettiness. Like I said with the relationship advice, where if someone takes advantage of you, you date for 3 years, and all of a sudden they turn out to be a different person, run off with somebody else, or whatever it may be, those 3 years are on them. Don't punish yourself later on 1 year by antagonizing them online or looking at their social media. Like, put it in your past and move on. Hopefully you can do it quickly and just live your best life. The whole, oh, I'm gonna take a Snapchat and send it to him with me pouring it down the drain, that's like, oh yeah, now you hurt my feelings so bad that I'm gonna go like take a monetary loss because I'm angry at the situation. That doesn't seem like the right thing. But OP said about that, oh no, that's an awesome idea. I was just planning to throw them in the fridge and tell my stepdad to go nuts because he'll drink anything. He's not an alcoholic, but down the toilet would work well too. And here's the thing is, I think that was all bad advice, and yet OP got that advice and said, oh yeah, cool, now I'm gonna get back at them by pouring it down the toilet. Like, if anything, you know, not to be too harsh, but that would kind of make me feel like, let's say I was the bystander, like I was at the party and, like, you know, she was trying to buy the beer. You'd think that makes him look a little bit, sad to say, more pathetic, where he's just so hurt by it he has to go throw his money down the toilet, down the drain. You know what I mean? That doesn't seem like a good idea to me. But a reply to that saying, pouring out for her terrible party, then give the rest to your stepdad. You get brownie points for doing something nice for him, while she gets to go cry over being terrible. And here's the sad part though, is like, Maybe she'll cry over being terrible, or maybe she'll just won't learn a lesson. She'll just be like, okay, cool, go down the list. Who's the next guy? Who's the next guy? Who else can buy us beer or whatever? Like, it's not gonna hurt them as much as you think. The idea that we're gonna pour the beer down the drain, they're gonna beg for his forgiveness, and all of a sudden he's gonna be this, good-looking, desirable man now because he poured it down the drain. That's not gonna help anybody's situation whatsoever. But let's go ahead and read one more top reply right now. As I say, not the antagonist. I would have loved to see her face when you took the beer with you. Good for you. And said, the pissed off face after doing something wrong to someone is so good to see. And here's this weird thing where everybody wants to be so vengeful, and like that's what they come on the Am I the Antagonist post to see like people getting nice revenge and like, yeah, stick it to them and all that stuff. But it's just like, this is a sad situation. It's a good learning point, I think, for OP to be able to say, okay, hey, look, I learned this thing. It sucks. Move on. But everybody's just like all tied up in this whole get your revenge. Now show them this, show them that. I don't really agree with that. But, top comments for oftentimes good perspective. I didn't really agree with any of the stuff that they said and the lesson that OP's learning from this. So maybe controversial will give us something better. Who knows? So top controversial comment is, there's something else going on here. OP was blocked on social media for spamming this chick's inbox. It doesn't make her right, but it does make me think that OP had no reasonable expectation for actually being invited to this party. I get the feeling he misreads situations pretty often. I'm gonna go with everyone sucks here. So here's the thing is that this is actually pretty good insight, something that I just barely touched on, the idea where he got blocked on her inbox. And the idea is, OP had no reasonable expectation for actually being invited to the party. I think that's why this person's getting downvotes over here, because they did have a reasonable expectation saying, hey, let's go, we're having this party, you want to come over and buy some beer? That's just like, and just, even if he's socially inept, anybody would think, if I hit anybody up and say, hey, you want to come over and have some beers at my place, it's kind of alluded to that I want you to come over and have beers with me if you come over, if you're buying them and everything. So yeah, he has a reasonable expectation to be there, but the one thing we are missing is the idea that he got blocked on all social medias, did something weird happen, now they're just trying to get some payback. Everyone sucks here in that situation, but the whole, he had a reasonable expectation that he was invited to the party. So here's a go. Not the antagonist, they are your beer, but it's not okay to buy alcohol for these people. So yeah, I mean, I don't get what that statement is saying. So the next reply was, everyone sucks here. You for wanting to party in a situation and buying booze for these idiots, her for a stunt. And that's the thing, is that's probably true depending on where they are. So they got a lot of votes, but it's controversial because, it's kind of a dicey situation to discuss that on here. I won't even say most of those words because I don't know how YouTube reacts to it. So let's go ahead and read the next reply saying, you're not the antagonist, but you're an idiot and you write bad prose. I don't know what prose is. So it's like, okay, it's really bad. Like, did they expect him to buy them beer and just take off? Yeah, right. I don't know, I don't know what that is, but it was kind of like, I learned the lesson of sometimes with bad grammar and bad spelling, I'll skip the story because I don't like to read it, and it's kind of hard to read it, like, I do one take podcast format, but maybe this is a second language. Maybe they're in a country where it's not that bad, so, we can't judge them based on that. So the next controversial reply was, I have no words. The way you were treated here is beyond disgusting. I am so sorry. I'm a lot older than you, and I will promise that while you always meet people who suck, as you get older, you'll meet like-minded people who treat you like an actual person. She's an entitled little miss who use you for her own purposes. Her friends are probably calling you the antagonist because she lied to them and told them some fake story about what happened. You are not the antagonist. So probably why this is a controversial reply is because they said like, oh yeah, she made up some fake story about what happened. You don't know that. You can't say any of that stuff. Maybe they all in on it, maybe they aren't, but just the idea that you're just making up part of the story to make them feel better. And it's also the idea where it's like, oh yeah, as you grow older it gets better, you meet more like-minded people, this and that. You might be giving him false hope if you don't know how socially inept he is, or maybe he does weird things too that gets him blocked on social media things, or why people are taking advantage of him. You don't want to victimize OP because you just don't know enough about it, but the idea where you're just giving him this thing where you're blowing him up, hyping him up, saying, oh, you're gonna meet better people, it gets better, this or that, it's like, maybe that's not the solution he needs. Maybe that's not the words he needs to hear right now. Maybe it's something else, but just, I understand why you want to be soft with your approach with OP and try to tell them lots of positive things. you also want to be kind of helpful as you possibly can, and sometimes those words just aren't as much. But if you like the helpfulness that I provide, make sure you subscribe down below with the notifications on, because as I said before, my upload schedule may or may not get kind of dicey and weird. I'm still trying to figure things out when I have less time. I do like the idea that a lot of the subscribers are like, oh yeah, Decoy, you sound sick, what's going on? It's like, it's because I'm recording super late at night. I can no longer wake up at like, 9 a.m. and just kind of at my leisure get a coffee and start recording. I'm recording super late at night. I don't want to be rude to my neighbors, so it's all going to be this very covert, top secret recording style for at least the time being. But as always, if you like the channel, I really appreciate you hanging out with me. If you do want to support the channel and help it get back to that first furloughed Decoy noise that everybody loves so much, make sure you go on to DecoyNoise.com/donate to hit up my Patreon, my Ko-Fi if you want to support the channel. Hit up r/DecoyNoise on Reddit to submit your own stories as well. But if nothing else, just go ahead and put this on autoplay and watch the next episode of Decoy Noise coming up next.